Julian here, and today we're going to go through unboxing and assembling the new Virus PPG that I recently got in the mail. I'm really excited to go through and take a closer look at this thing and see everything that it has to offer. So let's start by taking a look at what comes in the box. So let's start with the main virus unit itself. As you can see, the virus unit comes pre-assembled to this degree. It's got the mainframe, we've got the S-arms installed, we've got the harness installed, fuel tank is there. Basically we have to assemble the motor, put it together with this, and put together some spars and hoops and nettings and things like that. So there's a little bit of work to do to assemble it, but first let's just take a look at everything that it's got included. So as you can see, this did come with the S-arms. I ordered my virus with S-arms and J-arms, so we'll take a look in just a little bit at what those J-arms look like and how easy it is to swap between them. Taking a look at the front of the unit, we can see that we've got the AvaSport harness pre-installed. This is actually a pretty nice harness. It's got a nice seatboard here, it looks fairly comfy, some nice straps, nice radio pocket here for including the radio. And yeah, and as I said, it came pre-assembled with the S-arms. Let's take a closer look at those. You can kind of see those there. With a very small amount of webbing on these S-arms, so they're not going to do a whole lot of weight shift. The J-arms are more included for doing more weight shift type flying. Nice little pouch here. As we continue to rotate this guy around, we see here the mounting plate for the Virus 185 motor that I'm going to be installing in just a little bit here. We've got the protective cover for the fuel tank. And as you'll see here, this is the top of the fuel spout here. The fuel tank is actually included within the system itself. So it's not hanging out here in the air. And the idea here, I believe, is to carry the weight a little bit higher up so that it's easier to carry out of the airflow and just a little bit more balanced. Okay, let's take a look at what else came inside the box. So here we've got some spares. As you can see here, we've got a spare gas cap, a couple of the spare quick releases for attaching and assembling some of the pieces together, and a variety of miscellaneous screws and things like that. We also have a nice bit of swag here with a nice Virus t-shirts and some stickers and some information, that sort of stuff. Haven't opened that yet, but looking forward to wearing that. Also have the J-arms here. So these are an alternative to the S-arms, which came pre-installed on the unit. And these J-arms come with some longer straps. So when these are installed, as you can see, there will be much more range of motion with these, so you'll be able to do some weight shift flying with those as well. So also in the box were the spars and the hoop pieces that go together to complete the paramotor assembly. As you can see, they came in these nice plush carrying pouches, if you will. And if you were to just simply pull these guys out, you'd see the spars themselves. These are super, super lightweight. I was expecting, I don't know why, something more heavy and stout, but these are super lightweight, and I think they'll contribute to the lightness of the paramotor itself once everything's fully completed. So this happens to be the top spar. You can tell because of the pulley here for the starter mechanism, and also there are two more additional spars that came as well. So we've got those here. So 3 spars altogether. The hoop and netting pieces are also included, and if we pull those out, we can see that the netting is pre-attached. And let's see, we'll go this way. This is 1/2 of the hoop. You can see that it assembles there at the top with one of the quick connect mechanisms, and it's got the netting pre-installed. So there's 2 of these sections that come. So we've got 4 sections all together, and those will go together to complete the entirety of the hoop. Lastly, we have a box of the anti-torque lamels. Now let's pull one of these guys out and take a closer look. These are carbon fiber and will attach to the netting. There are, I don't know, about 20 or so of these things that are included, and they'll go in one direction on one side of the netting, go in another direction on the other side of the netting, with the idea being to offset the torque effect of the motor. We'll see how well they work. All right, with that quick introduction to what's included in the Virus PPG box, let's go ahead and start putting things together. Okay, now we're going to put the backing plate onto the motor, and then we'll put the motor onto the actual paramotor itself. Okay, now let's mount our motor to the motor mount, and then get that attached to the paramotor. So we're going to use a thread sealer like Loctite here to make sure that this doesn't come loose thanks to the vibration that's going to come from the PPG. So be sure to use a generous amount of that. All right, and now that those are hand tied in, we'll go ahead and torque them down. Okay, now let's get it mounted to the PPG. Okay, so now we've got the motor attached to the frame, and to be honest, this was a little bit more tricky than I had anticipated, primarily due to the awkwardness of trying to hold the motor, trying to get the bolts aligned with the spacers, aligned with the bolt holes, and to do all that while trying to balance everything and then hold up the engine while I'm doing it. So I tried a couple of different ways. It would have been really helpful if I had a few more hands to try and get this done. If you've got somebody that can assist you and kind of hold things in place while you screw the bolts in, that would be even better. But if you have to do it by yourself, the way that I found that works probably the best for me was to, first of all, not have it on a high workspace like this, have it down low on the ground, hold the engine and sort of hang it over. And that way, it's a little bit easier to attach the top two bolts with the spacers in place. With those in place, then you can go in and put the bottom two bolts in place. So what I did was just put the top two with no Loctite or anything like that, just to hold them in place, put the bottom two in with Loctite, and then came back and one by one undid the top bolts and applied Loctite to each of them, and then retightened them down. So bottom line, now we've got the engine attached to the frame. I also went ahead and attached the top spar to the frame. The reason I did that is because that's got the pulley for the pull start mechanism. I wanted to go ahead and get the pull start plumbed into place because that's going to free up this area a little bit, and we're going to be working here in the next steps. By default, the Virus comes with this nifty little priming bulb here. For this build, we're actually not going to use this. So instead, what I've done is I've gone ahead and capped that line off. That line comes from the gas tank up here. Capped it off and just sort of dressed it in neatly and tied it away. I might consider actually removing the whole thing and just plugging this hole in the future, but for now, we're just going to leave it in place and just tuck it away nicely. Instead, we're going to use this inline priming bulb, and we'll plumb that into the fuel line next. Okay, so we've got our inline fuel primer bulb installed, and make note that if you do use one of these are directional. So there's an arrow imprinted on the side of the bulb. Make sure that it's going in the direction of fuel flow from the tank up to the carburetor. And the way we've got it plumbed in here, it's going to tuck in nicely right behind where the arm's going to go. Speaking of the arm, you may notice that there's a nice big solid machined pin here, which is what the arm rides on. So I'm going to just go ahead and snap that back into place right now. This is one of the really cool features I liked about the Virus, was one, the beefy pins here, and how really quick and easy it is to install one of these. So we're going to go ahead and just snap it on, push in the indent there, and then it just snaps into place. Okay, with that done, let's go ahead and put the spars on, the remaining spars that is, And this is super, super easy. These pins really just retract. You slide it into place and they pop into place into the retaining holes to hold this bar in place. Simply goes like this. Done. And we'll do the other side. All right, and we're done there as well. All right, with the spars in place, we can go ahead and put the rest of the hoop in place now. So I found that it's easier to start with the bottom and then work our way up, at least for me. All right, so we're just going to slide this into place. There. That other way. And also there. All right, the bottom is in place. Let's go ahead and get the top. Again, simply slide that into place. And slide it into place up at the top. With them in place, now we can put the quick connect mechanisms, the locking levers, into place and lock that in. So just stick that through. We'll just stick that through, tighten this nut on the end of it a little bit more, and then lock the lever into place. Easy peasy. We'll do the same in the middle here. And we'll lock that into place. All right, before we do the top, we'll go ahead and do the other side, and then we'll lock the top together. And the other side goes on the same way. Let's go ahead and slide that into place down here. Slide it into place on the spar. Slide the top into place on the spar. And slide the top together. Great. Now we can put the locking levers in place. Here we got the bottom. finally we can get the top one in. All right, now our hoop's put together. Okay, with the hoop in place and with the netting installed, well, let's go ahead and tighten it up now. Now there's a tightening mechanism on here that's super simple to use. It's located right here, and really all we need to do is thread this up through that, grab it, pull it tight, and pull it down to lock it. Super easy. Let's do the other side. Again, thread it up, grab it, pull it tight. We can get this super tight too. I'm just gonna putting it in place for now, but you know, we can pull this and get it very tight. Okay, that goes into place, and then we can just kind of connect these two with carabiner or something like that to keep them together, just so they're not flying off everywhere. Ah, here we go. Let's grab one of these. Let me just put this in place. All right, and that's fine just to hang there like that. There we go. Okay, now let's get the prop installed. Now the prop that I'm installing is a Helix. This is a carbon fiber prop, so it's a two-piece. Let's go ahead and just slide it together, like so. And we'll go ahead and get this bolted on to the engine. Now the Helix manual calls for a tightening torque of 8 Newton meters. I'm going to go ahead and do that in a couple stages. I'll first tighten it to 5, and then I'll go back around again and tighten it to 8. Probably not necessary, but there's no harm in doing it, and it just makes me feel better, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. The Helix manual also calls for Loctite 242, so we'll put some blue Loctite on here as well. All right, now that everything is hand tight, let's go ahead and make our first pass, and we'll do that at about 5 Newton meters. Then we'll make it a second pass again, and do that at 8 Newton meters. And we're going to do that in a sort of a crisscross pattern, working our way around the propeller here. Click, 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 click. Now let's move that up to 8. All right, we're at 8 Newton meters now, and we'll go ahead and make another pass. Okay, the prop's been installed, and I'm going to go ahead and call this a video. There are a couple of things that I've got left to do. I might do a follow-up video to finish those up, but basically I've got the anti-torque lamels to install, and I'm also going to change the throttle on here. This throttle is great, it's fine, but there's another one that I prefer, so I'm going to go ahead and install that. And when I do that, then I'll go ahead and dress that in nicely. I'll show you some additional pictures in the future about how that looks, and go ahead and install the tach and hour meter at the same time when I put that new throttle on. So, but we'll go ahead and call that a video for today. Thanks so much for watching.